Hello, hello. I'll tell you guys what, nothing feels as good as making solid progress, and that's what's been happening on the motorhome. Now, I've been working under the front end here. There's almost nothing under me at the moment. Just the differential is all that's left of the front end, driveline components, all of that up there. And it's not reassembled yet because I'm waiting on some parts to come in the mail. But yeah, the lighting has gotten sorted out thanks to a viewer. We'll get to that later on. And speaking of viewership, this channel is doing really good. I mean, it's small, but the metrics are like solid. And compared to my other channel, the interest just kind of grows and grows. It's all based on how much I can do. Like if I could produce 2 videos a week, this channel would be explosively growing. But you know, due to the nature of the work and to the nature of my life, I do what I can do. And I released a video last week, I think it was, that I never should have put out there. It was basically the rough draft of today's video. So if you saw that video, some of the scenes in today's video are going to seem like deja vu, but they're completely reshot. You haven't seen this before, and the narrative's changed a little bit, so I encourage you to watch the whole thing. And on that note, let's get into it. After completing the disassembly on the other side, I absolutely would not even attempt this job without an impact driver. And in tandem with the impact driver, you need some rusty bolt removal spray. And this vibrates into the threads between the nut and the bolt when you're using the impact driver. Just the you know, that really drives the penetrant in there. And in combination, these two things make it relatively easy to get rusty bolts off. The rusty bolt, it just sheared off. There's no coil spring here at the front because this is torsion bar suspension. So this torsion bar here goes way back there, and we have to go loosen it at the back end. Making progress right there. Now on the passenger side here, the torsion bar spring decided to pop itself out of the rear as I was banging on it before it popped out of the lower A-arm here at the front. So I had to hold the lower A-arm kind of under my armpit with my hand like that as I bashed on the lower A-arm with the mallet here. Now this rubber mallet was indispensable for both the left and the right. So get you one of these if you have to do this job. This part is critical. You don't want to mess up your brake lines because, yeah, otherwise you can't stop your motorhome and you die. You'll need brake fitting wrenches. They're these funky looking things. Lucky enough for me, Dan, the previous owner of this, actually put new brake lines, new soft lines here. So he's already broken these loose just like a couple years ago. But if you have 40-year-old brake lines, you might have a problem. And what you can do is you get some like air duster, this stuff for cleaning computer keyboards, and you turn the can upside down and you spray the fitting, and it freezes the fitting, which helps sort of break the old corroded fittings loose. But anyway, I'm just going to... Got my container here to catch the drips, and as soon as I get that line disconnected, I'm going to stick this piece of tape over it, and I'm going to put the rubber band around the tape to hold the tape in place, just to kind of try to keep the line from draining all of the brake fluid out. Now, I didn't need to break the connection up here because I could have just spun these free right here, but if this is connected to the wheel, first you have to break this connection, then you can spin the whole hose. In order to remove the axles, there are 6 bolts that hold that flange there to the front differential. The bolts are star-shaped. It's pretty interesting, and that's just to ensure that you don't strip them out. So you're going to need a star bit like this. The flat-sided 7/16 inch bit won't work. Anyway, you can see I've got a wrench wedged from one of the bolts to the oil pan there, and that's allowed me to break 5 of the bolts loose on this side, as well as all 6 bolts loose on the other side. I've actually removed the axle on the other side, but this one bolt still needs to get removed. And in order to resist the rotation from that single bolt getting removed, I've reinstalled 2 of the bolts on this side, and I've got my long pry bar wedged between them. All right, now that I got all these parts off, time to get them in the box and sent to Manny. All I'm gonna get back from him is just these upper A-arms, but the brake calipers here he needs as a core to return to the auto parts store. And you can see underneath the floor here, there's the second set for the passenger side. 93 pounds. And it cost $128 to ship it to Manny. So yeah, that's the disassembly of the front end. And once I get those parts from Manny, we'll put it all back together. 3 of the tools that you saw me use in the course of getting this job done were provided to me by a viewer, Nicholas Blomdalen. And this hammer in particular is my favorite. This is a dead blow hammer. It's like 36 ounces. So it's nice and heavy, ball peen. Anyway, Nicholas had a credit at the Made in the United States company. It was difficult for him to get it shipped to Europe. So instead he just used the credit to send the tools to me. And yeah, absolutely critical for getting this job done. I didn't even own one of these pry bars, and I use this thing like 100 times, it seems like. If you don't have a pair of bent pliers like this, once you have them, you find all kinds of uses for them, and it's one of those things where the right tool for the job just makes your life so much easier. Anyway, thank you again, Nicholas. It was really helpful. Here at the back of the motorhome is the drainage pipe for the black water tank. That's where all the gross, nasty sewage and stuff comes out, but obviously it hasn't been used in years. And last year, like last spring and summer, there were birds flying in and out of that pipe. So I knew that they were nesting inside of there, and I just left them alone. And this year, there's nothing. They're not doing anything. There's no action happening there. So I just stuck my coat hanger in there like so, pulled out this nest. Really cool. So the sticks here were at the front. That was like the entrance. This is like the front forward nest. And then there was a back nest as well. So there were 2 nests in there. And then there was all this like wadding. I don't know, this really filled up the space quite effectively to, really plug it up back at the back end. So really cool though. Cute little birds too. They were very friendly. There have been many comments talking about the lighting situation from a previous video. And, lighting is incredibly important to the safety as you're driving and just to the overall look of the motorhome and functionality. So getting this right is important to me. Now, for those of you who have maybe tuned out of the whole discussion, let's make it really simple. There's the blinker at the back. And you can't see both of these lights at the same time, but they're blinking in phase with each other. They're both on and off at the same moment. And that is the way it's required to be by law. Now, side marker lights on the rearview mirrors are allowed, but they must blink in phase with the front and rear lights so that we don't have a on, off, where they're blinking like this. They need to both be blinking at the same moment. Also by law, you are allowed to have your running light here function as both a running light and a blinker. And while I couldn't find the regulation requiring that those blink in phase with each other as well, I'm sure it's written down there somewhere. I just didn't do an exhaustive search through all the codes everywhere. So you can see up here we have 2 bulbs effectively. We have the white bulb, which is the running light, and the yellow bulb, which is the blinker. To make this project easy, I would have 2 bulbs here as well. And I could easily turn this into the running light and this into the blinker. But I just don't like that solution. I want both of these lights here to be running lights to mark the widest point on the motorhome. And since they are both single bulbs and they're both LEDs, it's quite the challenge to get them to turn on and off as a blinker, but also stay on with the running lights and blink in phase. So that's the goal. That's why all of the complication exists. But a lot of the comments don't want to believe that it is such a complicated thing to achieve. And you know what? Those comments are right if I was willing to use 2 bulbs on the side of the motorhome. So here it is with 2 bulbs working just fine. Here's the running lights. There's the white running light at the front and the yellow amber running light on the side. And this is the blinker at the front and the blinker, the separate bulb, on the side. So this is an easy way with just straight wires to achieve what I'm after. But it requires 2 bulbs, and that's a no-go. So let's try getting it to work using just a single bulb. Currently, the running light, the front white running light and the side amber running light are connected to each other. And when I activate the blinker, it blinks just the amber bulb here at the front and the back of the motorhome. Let's connect both the running light and the blinker to the side marker light. All 3 lights come on, which is okay. Actually, this would work. That would be fine. And when I'm running the blinker, all 3 lights again come on. And again, this would be legal and it would work. The problem comes when I want to run both the running light and the blinker. You can see that my blinker has just stopped functioning. This is a Schottky diode. It's a one-way valve for electricity. It can flow that way, but not that way. And many of you may be familiar with this from bridge rectifiers, which are an inexpensive and simple way to achieve DC current from the AC current coming out of your wall. But a bridge rectifier is an entirely different solution to an entirely different problem than what we're dealing with here. However, diodes do achieve some functionality in this circuit. You can see I've got 2 of them installed right here, and now we've got our running lights, and they function well. They're not all 3 lights coming on. See the turn signal here at the front of the motorhome? Not on. And the turn signal now also does the side marker light as well as the turn signal at the front of the motorhome. The problem again, what happens when I want to run both the turn signal and the running lights together? You can see only the front turn signal now is blinking. This does not blink. So diodes are not the solution. The solution, as discussed in a previous video, involves a microcontroller where I can program in software the behavior that I want. You can see I've packaged the electronics into this little case for installing into the motorhome. The green light here on the relay is the side marker light. And when I connect just the running light, everything works well. When I connect the side blinker, it also works fantastic. Now when I do the running light and then the blinker, it works fantastically, and there's a delay. So you see, when I disconnect, it's going to be about a ½ second until that light turns off. And that should achieve what I want, getting the side marker light / blinker to blink in phase with the front and rear turn signals. Success! The blinkers are in phase, side and front, and when you turn the running light off, so in phase. So this thing works, and that's awesome, but after spending all the time with it and getting it functional, this is not the solution I'm going to go with. And there's a number of reasons for that, but the number one reason, the most obvious reason, is the KISS principle. Keep it simple, stupid, right? That's a lot of complication, and really all I needed to do, as I showed, was just add 2 bulbs. 2 bulbs on the side, and I didn't have to do all that. Well, I just didn't want to add another bulb. I wanted this single bullet light looking thing on the side of the motorhome. And thankfully, a viewer by the name of Eden from Arizona, he pointed out that you can buy these on Amazon with 2 LEDs inside of them. So that's what I've done. I've purchased those and I'll just be able to plug them right in. Nothing but wiring. It'll all work. Of course, that means that I'm no longer providing any help to you guys who have the same motorhome or another classic car with a single bulb on the side and you want to replace that bulb with an LED, which is, you know, what this whole program, this is the program that I wrote. I'm kind of proud of it. And yeah, that's what all of that is for. Yeah, sorry about that, you guys, but there are still a number of small yet very important problems to solve with this design. First of all, the MOSFET situation isn't perfect. I would like to get rid of that relay still and provide and get another MOSFET, but not being an electrical engineer myself, figuring out and sizing the correct MOSFET, or MOSFETs, I should say plural, is challenging. That's hard. To really make this a viable solution, I would need to go order PCBs, which means I'd need to design the whole PCB layout. So as much work as I've put into it, there's probably that much again, maybe 3 times more, just to get this project finalized and ready for everybody. And there just aren't that many people out there who are looking for such a solution. Even though I think I'm abandoning this whole strategy, it has merit. So this is the flasher unit. This is the actual physical switch that blinks the lights on and off. And the way that it works is there's a long strip of metal that connects the switch and unconnects the switch. And the strip of metal has a heating element wrapped around it. And when the heating element gets hot, it bends the metal, which, breaks the connection and turns the switch off. So you go click, 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 and it's constantly heating up and cooling down. Well, I think it's based on differential heating, so the strip relative to the other metal around it, but still temperature, your ambient temperature, if you're in negative 20 degree, northern Midwest weather versus, hey, we had 115 degrees here in the Northwest, just a few, like last week or so. So that's a really big temperature difference there, to have constant and reliable timing. This is a really poor timing device. The Arduino has this crystal right here. You see that? That's the same as quartz movement that you used to see on watches in the 80s and the 1980s. So it's a very precise timing device. And, so in order to get this to work with the blinker here, I really should use the first blink cycle on off to time what the blink cycle is based on how hot or how cold the environment, all of that. As soon as I activate the turn lever, I'll lose a full blink on off before the side marker light starts blinking, because it needs to take that time to time the on off cycle. So yeah, I would like to get rid of this. I really would. It's old technology from 1978, or geez, probably from like 1910, something crazy like that. But yeah, KISS, keep it simple, stupid. We're just going to go with the 2 LED solution, and the light on the side mirror is just going to be a blinker and not a running light. Back to the wiring schematics that I talked about in the previous video. This is the more sort of refined and updated version of the central Arduino controlled blinker control unit. So I would rewire the whole motorhome for the tail lights, running lights, and blinkers, and it would all be controlled by a single Arduino. And this is the hardware setup and the wiring, how I would accomplish that. So yeah, this would be the way to upgrade out of the physical blinkers. So both the emergency flasher as well as this turn signal flasher would be eliminated, which is 2 moving parts and points of failure that would get, gone. There's a lot to be said for that, but it's a lot of work, and the current system is functional. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Let's move on and do something else to the motorhome. Let's talk about 3D printing on the motorhome. Some of the things that I've made, like these mirror mounts, are a total win. I love these grommets here that allow me to put these circular, like bullet light things here on the side. That's a fantastic look. But not everything is a win. Take a look at that grate. It was 110 degrees in the shade here the other day, and that's what it did to my 3D print. Now keep in mind, this was printed with PLA, which is a bioplastic made from cane, sugar cane, or corn, these kinds of things. And it's a lower temperature plastic, so it's much more prone to this kind of a thing, but it's also much easier to print with than your higher performance plastics. So I could reprint this with a higher temperature plastic, and I wouldn't have this problem. But that is going to be quite the challenging print to make out of anything except maybe, PETG. So I think PETG is the plastic to make this grate with. However, the reason I haven't riveted this in and painted it and finalized the print with PETG is because I don't think I'm going to actually put a louver in there. I think I'm going to make that hole just disappear by welding an aluminum patch inside of it. Up here, the ball joint attached to the arm from the steering pump had that boot which got damaged as I removed it, and I replaced it with that 3D printed part, if you'll remember from a previous video, and that's doing fantastic. The wall thickness is substantial on that, and I got to use my really flexible filament, so that's going to go the distance. But I can't say the same for this boot, also part of the steering linkage. This was made out of the stiffer TPU plastic, if you'll remember, and look at it, it's torn and separated. So that boot is not going to be viable. Thankfully, this exists. I got this one from Manny. You can get them from Jim Bounds or maybe from Applied GMC. I don't know. Lots of places get these. And it's a combination. It's two boots. This is this accordion boot that gets popped over this other boot here. And this will completely replace that. And it's a much better solution. So let's get this on there and see if I can do it without having to remove the steering pump. I think I can just undo a couple of bolts and the yoke will slide enough to get the whole thing off. Well, getting this part out has been a challenge so far. You can see I needed to drop the whole steering box off. It's just dangling by the hard line there. That's not very good, but it'll do. And you'd think at this point I could just slide the spline down into the boot, but the throat of the boot is much smaller than the spline, and that's doubled up right there. These two boots are kind of, one is like a rubber band around the other one, so that's not going to happen. Instead, I need to pry down all of the little safety tangs here, undo all of these bolts, pull the entire CV joint off. Then you can see down in there, there's a castle nut, and I'm going to need to take that castle nut off just so that I can slide this through from that direction. Hopefully, I will never need to replace this boot again as long as I own the motorhome, because this is a royal pain in the butt. All right, that's all disassembled. One more job complete. Now the question is, how obsessed should I be with rust removal? This is, this whole steering box has like 50 miles on it. And, it's brand new, but it's been sitting in the driveway long enough to get this rust patina on it. And it's just surface rust, but it still bugs me. Don't even get me started on this brake reservoir. Old cars just suffer from a lot of surface rust, but then again, they were only designed to go to 150,000 miles. So rust treatments are probably a good idea, but I don't have time for that. Maybe later. Hey, look at what came in the mail today. It's these 3-wire little round marker lights. And these are not bullet lights. I don't know why I call them that. But yeah, same form factor exactly as the ones that they're replacing with only 2 wires. So these are the single bulb LEDs that I was trying to make work. And I was trying to make this work for 2 reasons. 1, because I needed it to work. And 2, because if I had been able to get this functional, and I did get it working with the proof of concept microcontroller. And the point was, for anybody else who owns these motorhomes and wants a brighter light there in their side marker, like you don't want to replace the stock side marker light on your motorhome, but you just want to pull that bulb out and stick an LED bulb into its place. And they make plug and play bulbs there for that solution, and it was not going to work. It's not going to work. You cannot replace that bulb with an LED because the polarity goes both directions through it. So my solution, if I had gotten this working, I guess I did get it working, but I just didn't get it working to such a level where everybody could just plug and play. But anyway, yeah. So I'm sorry, I can't help you guys. You're going to be stuck with that incandescent bulb just because it is so easy for me to do this 3-wire deal. Now, I love doing Arduino projects. I do. I'm not, I went to architecture school. I didn't go to engineering school, so I'm not the strongest at that. I'm capable of doing those projects. And they're just so much fun when you get the job done. But as you're working on it, let me tell you guys, it's super frustrating. It's just like coding. You're banging your head against it. Why isn't this working? Why isn't this working? And then it just suddenly works. And it works well. And it's just, it's really rewarding. So I'm willing, if there's enough interest, I'm willing to continue down that path and get that solution to work for everybody else. But I don't know how many of you out there have these motorhomes or have a classic car with a single bulb on the side markers that you want to get this to work with. So please chime in the comments, or you can click the About tab on this channel and send me an email. Let me know that you'd be willing to buy that to help me. If that's something you want, it's a solution I can provide to everybody. So I don't know. I'm not looking for a business opportunity. It's just, it seems to me like there's a need that I can fill there, which makes me feel good. So, yeah. Speaking of feeling good, these are my Patreon supporters, and there's not too many of them, but you guys are flipping awesome. I really do appreciate and love you guys. So thank you so much for supporting this channel, and it does really feel like this channel has some great potential. It really does. It just responds well to any effort that I put into it, and that feels awesome. So this was just a really great, feel good bit of work that I did, and I can't wait to get that whole front end reinstalled and get the motorhome driving again with the upgraded components. Now, technically speaking, it's not going to be any different. The tracks, where the wheels sit, they're going to track perfectly in line with the rear wheels, so it will go down the freeway a little bit better. But other than that, it's like nothing really changed up there. It's just that I can rest easy at night knowing that those components aren't going to break on me, and they're upgraded. So yeah, well, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one. Have a great day. Bye.